Now, let's kind of address all of you guys now. When we look back over the show and we saw that Mark and Rob made it to the finals, did you guys expect that? I mean, who did you expect to be there? Obviously, I'm assuming you expected yourself, but who else? I mean, you have to play against somebody.
Well, going into the show, like, I thought it was built for Prodigy. I'm like, when I saw Rob at some of the auditions, I was like, oh, okay, well, he's gonna make it to the next level. And then when I walked in, you know, we met on the roof, but when we all saw each other and I saw Rob was there, I'm like, he's gonna make it to the end at least, like, you know, top 4 for sure. And I just always expected to see you in the finals. I was like, okay, well, hopefully it's against me, you know. But Rob, I felt like the show, the whole concept was made for him.
Nice. What about the rest of you? Who else? Jamal.
Well, I don't want to sound too cocky, but I figured that I'd be there versus Rob. I mean,
not him.
I saw your face on the roof. I'm like, who am I?
Well, like, the funny thing is, like, I actually was talking to Rob about, like, old school games and stuff, and there's just the conversations that we were having. I knew Rob was good because when I walked in, I didn't know anybody from Adam. The only person I knew in the whole house was Amy because she was part of the PMS clan. So I wasn't scared of you guys at all. I mean, I heard you guys were good at one game. I'm like, well, they're not going to do very well because I'll never come in last. I'll never have to face the person at their best game, so it won't matter. And I'll just breeze my way through it. And then Rob just seemed like he knew everything about every game, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be crazy because Rob's going to be really good. And that was the only person I was afraid of in the whole house.
I think I had a bit of a different outtake on it going in. I actually knew 8 of the people of the 12, or I had some association with them. So being, you know, 8 or tied into the pro circuit, into pro gaming, which, as Jamal illustrated, very tight in one game. So me going in, I counted it even before I left my house, and I told my husband, some random noob's gonna win this thing. That was literally in my head. Because they have more time to play all these other games, and yes, we all play a bunch of different games, but it's just a fact of life that when we're competing professionally on a professional circuit, we're gonna spend the majority of our time on one game. So, I mean, I knew that that was probably the most potential, and I knew that going in. However, I will say, going in throughout the house, that I thought Swoozie, as he had performed the strongest on the physical, and then we didn't know, remember the finals, that it was just going to be game playing. We didn't know if they were going to do a cumulative, you know, physical and game, but he'd also performed very strongly in all the games up until Halo. So, I mean, it took taking first on multiple. So, I thought that actually Swoozie would be one of them in the end too. And I figured Rob and Swoozie. I'm not shocked Mark made it at all. He proved himself an amazing gamer as well. But in my ideal, I thought it was going to be those 2.
And Swoozie, what do you think about that? Is that?
I mean, I don't disagree with what Amy's saying, but I honestly, personally thought JD might be that dark horse. Because when the guy took off his shirt the first night and I see like this dude's cut up and everything and he's throwing around a football and I'm just like, all right, I realized that the real life stuff was 50%, if not in some cases could be more than 50% of the overall standings. I was just like, all right, and Rob was pretty much my only real ally. I mean, Amy is my girl as well, so I know I had her in my back, but Rob was really my only ally coming into the show, so it was like, all right, well, I got this guy I think is the dark horse, let me kind of throw him in here. I mean, it's pretty crazy because when you have an experience like this, it's unique. When you have a tournament like Fighter Club that we had here 2 weeks ago at Samsung Experience, you knew what games are going to be here. You knew the set brackets. You knew everything that's going to be, the times, the health bar, all that stuff. With an experience like this, when we auditioned, they gave us a sheet with 30 games on it. And they were like, some or all these games will be on the show.
Indeed, yep.
And then as we got closer, they broke it down to 12. And they were like, okay, well, some or all these games might be on the show. And we weren't going to tell you guys, but somebody at the top got soft, so we're going to tell you right now. So and it's really unique because you really have to come in here game on, like ready to go, hit the ground running because you don't know what's going to happen next. There is no tournament, or I mean, even me trying to put it into words is really hard for you guys because people ask me, what do I have to do to train for season 2? And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, dude. Practice upside down over a pit of sharks because you don't know what these guys are going to throw at you next.
Play it all. You know, the thing is, I also want to talk about the decisions, some of the decisions that were made in game, and I'm sure you guys will have questions which we'll try and address at the end, but I have a couple questions. Let's talk about your weakest games and some of the interesting decisions that were made. I mean, we had Jeff go on, without a doubt, his weakest game, and he said his weakest game. So Jeff, how did that feel? Because you actually got put in the position to go out on your weakest game, and it was a tough struggle. And guys, some behind-the-scenes info. You should really give Jeff a lot of props. We had a lot of people commenting on boards or commenting about why we didn't play certain games on Expert, or in the case of DDR, Oni. Guys, this is a show where if you are not good at a game, you must be able to adapt and learn it in 24 hours. How can we really have a competition where you expect somebody to play on Oni level difficulty in 24 hours? Guys, it is physically impossible. So we had to set up challenges that could actually be done if somebody had never played the game before or had zero experience. And then I want to draw attention to Jeff, because Jeff literally learned to play DDR on hard with that mass of muscle on him in essentially, I believe, 8 hours or so. So please give him a hand, guys. That is very difficult to do. I mean, and he really gave a fight. He really gave a fight. Jeff, I believe you led Swoozy for the first 20 seconds of the game. I could see it on Swoozy's face. He was not pleased after putting himself there. However, Jeff, how did that feel going out on your weakest game? What did that make you realize about the show?
Well, I think as a gamer, like, even if we do have that specific game where we practice all the time at, and that's our big game, there's still elements of that game that we're not the strongest at, and people can exploit that, and that's why it's so great to play games competitively. When I looked at the show and when I went into it, I looked at it as a competition, as a game that is a competition that has different facets to it. So I knew that there was going to be games where I was going to look terrible, and my main goal was to make sure that America didn't hate me because I was wasting airspace flopping around like a fish on the mat, which ended up happening anyways. But I just looked at it as a competition. I knew that also, and they didn't necessarily show this on the show, but you actually control a lot of elements going into that thing. If I would have adapted better to the ambush by Hannah at the fake nightclub, I would have been able to avoid that kind of situation. Or if I was that kind of person, manipulated some other people on the show, perhaps they would throw the match like someone was talking about, or they could have a vendetta against someone else and someone else could go in there. So I knew that I controlled a lot of the things that led to that. And when the push came to shove, it was my time to go because I couldn't compete. And I was totally okay with that because I controlled a lot of it. So.
Well, indeed, you know, and I think the reason why I bring it up, Jeff, is because a lot of the competitors were not put in your situation. And as the host, it was often a mystery to me, being that you guys were all playing for a huge prize and a lot of money, one of the biggest purses in competitive gaming, why you didn't take advantage of openings. It was very, very strange to me. For instance, Rob, do you have any comment? You probably should have gone home on NBA Live. If everybody here says you were the biggest threat, you should have gone home. You should have been put in that position. Because this is a game, guys, and I'm genuinely curious to hear from the contestants. Why did you miss opportunities to play the game? All of you.
Well, I believe, you know, 100 grand is a big deal. It changes our lives, but I think more of us prefer friendship than money. And it's just gaming and we're not all together. It's just what we do. It's very social. We stick together and we play together, so that's how we roll.
That's applause-worthy, right? Come on, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
But even beyond that, like, I got asked that specifically on the show too, because like people who watch the show knew, there was an opportunity, there was a discussion with CG and Mark, should she throw the match because she is a good DDR player. And when push came to shove, they didn't actually show this, but I actually told her not to do it because if I was in her position, I would never throw myself into elimination just because on a pure mathematical level, it doesn't make sense. If you don't have to be put in an elimination situation, why would you do it? And I didn't do that because I wanted to be the white knight, because obviously it wasn't shown, and I don't get any credit for that. But the reason is because if I get eliminated or if I win, I want to do it for the right reasons, because in most scenarios, this show is more than $100,000. Like, Mark is going to do very well with it, and he's going to be very happy for the purse, but he's going to want to be remembered for the gamer and the human being that he was, and what his family and what his friends looked at. And the people who, and thankfully, I don't think anyone here did do this, but they could have made a complete jerk of themselves. And in doing so, especially with the budding gaming market, really hurt gamers. If someone goes out there and is a sniveling, poop face, and they make us look terrible, then people are going to be like, there's the gamer that I expected. They're a backstabbing, bad thing. So that's why it didn't happen.